Hey everybody, happy Thursday. I hope you are having a wonderful week, and I am so happy that if you are watching this that you have chosen to tune back in to the second video. I am very thankful for those of you that enjoyed it, found it helpful. That makes me so happy. That is really the only point of this, is for it to be some useful tips and tools for you to use. So hi, if this is your first time, go back and watch the first video, that'd be great. But if you just want to keep watching this, that's okay too. My name is Brianna Stewart, and this is my glass of wine. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and I hope that you have gotten your drink of choice as well. And of course, Dudley is gonna make his appearance in the back as well. So I'm gonna make this super quick today, but the one thing that's really on my heart and my mind, and it's driving me crazy, is in our industry in senior living, what I find is a lot of sales directors have a hard time letting go and transferring that trust once they have already got the move in. You know, we are starting with the move in process. So we have done our major piece of this, which is getting the deposit and getting them to choose our community. So the next step is, obviously, we want to continue doing a lot of hand holding for this family, and helping them navigate up to the day that they physically move in. Absolutely, that's what we need to be doing, but we can't do this alone. And so the biggest thing that I see is this has some challenges with customer service, right? So if you are the only person that this person or this family or resident, whomever it is, has interacted with up to the move-in day, what's going to happen? And the answer is there's going to be some problems because they do not have a relationship with the rest of your team. And what that causes is immediate miscommunication and misunderstandings on what expectations are. And that is a real problem, because if they move in and those expectations are not aligned with the team that is going to be actually giving the care and love to their residents on a everyday basis, you're gonna have a move out. And so it's gonna be that never-ending circle of I feel like I am a failure because this family has just moved out because things did not happen the way that I shared that with them or communicated that with them. This is deep stuff, guys. It happens all the time. It's happened with me, and it's a really crummy feeling to feel that you've let a family down. I got a thing that you should be doing in your arsenal to kind of, you know, it's not going to be perfect, but this will help you overcome these challenges of, well, that sales director said this, and then your team getting upset at you because they feel like that expectations were not aligned appropriately. You need to bring your team members into every step of the way of that move-in before they physically get there. They need to have relationships with not only you. You're great, and I'm so happy that you're there, and you did your job by getting the person to choose your community. That's amazing. But you need to bring in your executive director. You need to bring in your director of nursing or resident care partner, whoever that is. You need to have them be a part of this process. And why it's so important is you cannot be in 1,000 places at one time. You have got to continue on your path of telling more families about how great your community is. So you cannot get bogged down in this process. You have got to trust the rest of your team to carry this through. So how do you do that? It's really tough. One, you want to make sure that you've got to have a very strong relationship with your team members. You've got to have a level of, when I hand this off to them, I know that everything that we have shared in our tour sits and our discussions before the deposit is really going to happen. I've got to have a major amount of a strong bond with that executive director and clinical team to make sure that I don't seem like a liar. That's tough. So make sure that you are running towards those relationships on a daily basis to where you are aware of what they can provide, what they're going to provide, and that you are not selling something that is not reality, that's not realistic. And it happens all the time. And so I want to make sure that you have weekly meetings with your executive directors and your clinical team And it needs to be with you running towards that relationship, and it needs to be you facilitating that, because you're going to be the person selling this. You're on the chopping block if things do not happen the way that you have sold it to that family. Sorry, even if it's not your fault, you're the person that they are going to be slamming or writing a nasty review on. I've been there, trust me. So the best thing you can do is make sure that you have a strong bond with your team. That's where it starts, and it starts with you running at that. I have always really enjoyed having a standing day where the not only the nurse, the director of nursing, but also the executive director is present, and we have lunch together. We do it out of the community. I think it's really tough for us to have lunch brought in sometimes, because what happens? Your door gets opened about 1,000 times, and people need you. There's things. So the best thing you can do is to protect that time is to not have it at the community. And it works out great. Go have lunch. It's a great opportunity, one, for you to talk, about your upcoming, potential move-ins that you have, maybe some questions you have for clinical, maybe questions you've got for operations. I would do that. I would start it today. Get on a text message thread with your clinical director, your director of nursing, and your executive director right now, and say, what day every week could we set aside and protect that to where we can have lunch together, so we're all on the same page. So that's step one. Now, step two, if you are doing your lease signings, and this is so near and dear to my heart, if you, as the sales leader in your community, is not only getting the deposit, but also having that lease signing where we go through the residency agreement and the contract and all of that good stuff. If you are also doing that, stop it today. Here's why. I realize that it is a lengthy process, and executive directors and clinical directors and your business office managers have a lot on their plate. But what happens with this is you've got to be able to pass it off to somebody else and transfer that trust. One, most executive directors want to do this themselves. They should. And, at the end of the day, it's their community. It's anything that's going on in that community, it starts with them. And so you want them to have that bond and that relationship. It's not handing something off and wiping your hands of it. That's not it. You're still going to be a part of that move-in process, making sure the apartments weren't ready with your maintenance director, making sure that the paperwork has been delivered appropriately and that it's correct. You're still going to be doing some hand-holding, but you have got to introduce the other people of your community, so you can have a seamless move-in and they're not going to move out. So, that's the first thing that you need to do as well, is make sure that you are not doing those lease signings, because what happens with that is those lease signings are where the families are coming, and we are going to sit down and make sure that it's crystal clear on the expectations on both sides. And that's so important to come from operations versus sales, because there's nothing worse than, anything that goes wrong. If you don't pass that off, it's going to be, they're going to immediately look at you and say that, well, you told them this. Avoid that at all costs by having them simply do the lease signing, because then anything that goes on moving forward from that side, that they've built that trust and it came directly from the executive director's mouth, not the sales leader. So please protect your time, not to mention these lease signings. The shortest one I've possibly ever been a part of is probably been an hour. And that's a lot of time that you could be using for your follow-up, for your tours, for for new families to be introduced to your community. And so you are taking valuable time away from what your job is, which is to build your census and build profit. And so I really, I'm very, very strongly opinionated on having your sales leaders not do the lease signings. If the executive director is busy, no big deal. We totally get it. But you need to have somebody that can come in and do that, and it's not the sales director. Normally it's your business office manager or somebody, maybe if you have an assistant executive director, maybe even it's your nurse. That I've seen that happen before, which is great. That's wonderful if you could have the nurse come in and be the backup for your lease signings, because they're going to be the one in charge of the direct care of their loved ones. And that holds so much weight. Families appreciate this moment. You know, it really helps take away a lot of the fears of, you know, we know that salespeople, and we are sales leaders, that sometimes what we say isn't always true, and that's not, I'm not saying that that's what you're doing, but I'm saying that this is helping that go away or be lessened. And it's really going to create a better relationship for not only your residents and families, but for your relationship with your team members. So that is what I want to leave you with today. Transfer that trust. Have that lunch with your executive director and your nursing or clinical team on a weekly basis, and do not do your lease signings. I hope you find this helpful, and I am right at 10 minutes, so I'm a little better than last week, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and cheers. Talk to you next week.